Welcome to All Things Real Estate. I'm your host, Aaron, and these are my guests.
David.
Ben.
Nice to have you.
All right.
Thanks for being here, Aaron.
Unfortunately, in recent news, we did not land Aaron Judge as he elected to go back to New York. However, with that being said, I do believe the massive floating swimming pool in San Francisco Bay would have been attractive.
Speaking of attractive.
My teeth fell out. I got veneers. They looked phenomenal.
They smile into the camera.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we were having sushi and we lost a couple. So after this, I'll be promptly going to the dentist. And remember, when choosing your dentist, who you work with matters.
It's a rare condition this day and age to read any good news on the newspaper page. And love and tradition of the grand design, some people say, is even harder to find.
Here we go for the Silicon Valley Market Minute. Brought to you by, what's your dentist name?
This is a new section by Mamitas.
Yeah. You got a little chicle. It's brought to you by Chicle. Those little chicle gums. Anyway, all right, here we go. Wrapping up the end of the year. We're about mid-December. Inventory's down, just like we said it would be. No big shock there. 721 active single-family homes from Gilroy all the way to Palo Alto. 428 pending. So, the inventory that we still have is moving. Now, this is interesting. Condos and townhomes. You were just asking if I ever bring them up in the Market Minute. Inventory is up a little bit. We got 309. Last week we had 228. So we had about an 80 unit increase. But here's the interesting thing. Pendings last week were 139 units. That jumped up to 202. So again, we talk about how when home prices go really high, people gravitate towards condos and townhomes, which we saw, this year, and it's still happening here. Even as we get into December, the amount of pending condos and townhomes are up. And so, what do you think is going to happen for January? Oh, but before I get to that, and we have 185 off-market and coming soon homes that you won't find on Zillow, Redfin, Trulia, Realtor.com. So as always, if you are looking for a house, reach out to one of us, and if we can't find one on market for you, there's a good chance we can find one off market.
Yeah, the off-market ones I think are getting I think there's going to be stronger inventory than we thought in January, just due to what I'm seeing on the off-market.
I also think sellers that are selling off market are super realistic, right? Like before you wanted to go to the market to test the waters, but now if you're off market at 1.3 saying like, hey, I'm coming to the market in January, but if you give me 1.3 now, people are taking it.
To your point, Ben, I think you're right. Normally, we don't see inventory start to increase until like first week of February. I think it's going to pop come first or second week of January.
I mean, we have 2 or 3 listings right now where they're
like
just
eight
that
are.
Jeez.
Yeah, and they're all just waiting until January.
Yeah, just like, hey, I want to enjoy Christmas here, and then boom, let's go.
Yeah, when normally January has been the preparation month to go on the market in February, but now we have clients preparing now. Quarry Park, what we have in Los Gatos. I've got one in Santa Teresa. I mean, so yeah, they're all preparing now, and that way they can get on and try to beat that February rush.
Big misconception for sellers out there is that there's no vendors available to fix things, like paying to do all that. They need work. Like, we had no problem getting anyone scheduled this month.
Yeah, we don't have any issue with that, but that's never been an issue for us. I think even as the market was crazy busy, who you work with matters.
Yeah, I've talked to a couple other agents in some other offices that mentioned that they have a lot of sellers coming who are waiting to do their final Christmas in their homes before going on the market in the beginning of the year. So I know it's not just us. I think it's coming. It's going to come early.
So I know we were talking predictions for 2023. I know Aaron has some bold ones, right? And while he's thumbing through his 138 pages of notes, I'll start with a couple. I think by mid-year, interest rates are going to drop. I think we probably end the year at the low to mid-5s. And as soon as the rates drop down into the 5s, I definitely think we're going to see the sales activity pick up. I do believe, first half of the year is going to be a little slower than normal. But what does that really mean? What does it mean to the average consumer when we talk about, okay, sales are going to be down 22% this year? from an agent's perspective, well, yeah, that sucks, right? Because, let's be honest, we get paid when we sell houses. So overall, sales are going to be down 22%, which means potentially that some people's income is going to, real estate agents' income are going to go down by that. But boo-hoo, who cares about real estate agents, right? But to that point, NAR, National Association of Realtors, is forecasting that up to 250,000 real estate agents will get out of the business next year.
Yeah,
so I'm all for that. But no, at the end of the day, people still have to buy, people still have to sell. So it just means there's going to be less total deals out there.
One of my clients the other day asked me, like, how do you know these people? And I was explaining to him that the average real estate agent, if you ask 100, I would say maybe a little less than half nationwide, probably have other jobs, or they're making $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year. And what's the saying? 90% of the agents in the Bay Area do 10% of the agents do 90% of the business, right? So you work with the same people over and over again, which is why it's so important to stay super ethical and treat people right.
Yeah. I always talk to clients and I tell them, be wary of an agent that's doing it part-time, because it's hard there's so much information and the market changes so quickly in all of our little mini markets around the county that, and it's not a knock, I get it. You're working a full-time job and you're doing real estate on the side trying to make ends meet, and I respect that, but the reality is the size of our transactions, the amount of dollars that's at stake, you have to find somebody that's in the trenches day in and day out.
There's two ways we can go in this conversation. Continue to talk about that, or did you have any more predictions?
No.
Any hot takes over there?
Let's roll.
Hot takes or predictions for next year?
Hot takes, predictions for next year?
Well, I have a hot take. Obviously, it's my Mustache Market Minute. But prediction for next year, I think when you said interest rates are going to come down by the middle of next year, end of next year, again, for buyers, be wary that, there's a boat of you. No buyer is in this market, by themselves. They're not the only person looking at the same property. If interest rates start to come down and more properties start to come up, the buyers are going to follow that. And we saw just in the last week when interest rates did drop a little bit, properties started to go over asking.
A little uptick in activity, right?
Before we go to your market mustache minute,
must we?
One thing that I wanted to talk about that we haven't touched too much on is the amount of agents right now that I'm seeing personally that are quote unquote buying listings. And what does that mean? Well, to me, that means you as the seller, me as the real estate agent, you think your property is worth $2 million. I have told you it's worth 1.8. Clearly you're not listening to me. You still want to work together. I, as the listing agent, am still taking the listing, putting it on at $2 million, but guess what I'm not doing? I'm not doing open houses. I'm not getting professional photos. I'm not doing a lot of necessary things to sell the home. And then now that you're emotionally invested and on the market, you've done your part of getting all the stuff out, moving to the new house, you're emotionally invested. Now I, as the real estate agent, am beating you down on price. And I don't think that's fair. So I just think a lot of agents right now are kind of bullshitting, and they're telling you what you want to hear, not what you need to hear.
Correct. And so I just wanted to clarify, because you were saying, I'm not doing open houses. You don't mean you personally.
Me as the real estate agent in that situation.
Right. And we've said this before, and it's worth repeating. When a seller is looking to interview real estate agents to help list and sell their home, don't pick the agent that says they're going to get you the most for the house. To your point, if they're saying, I'm going to get you $3.5 million, and the two other agents say, yeah, you're probably at $3 million, then you probably don't want to hire the guy at 3.5, even though he's telling you what you want to hear. And secondly, don't go with the cheapest agent as well, right? Because I promise you, they will either cut corners or they are desperate for business because they don't do a lot of transactions. Commissions are negotiable, and I think that's a great conversation to have with all the agents that you interview. But don't for the guy that's promising you the highest price, and don't go for the cheapest guy out there.
I just think real estate agents, it's only fair if you as the seller again, they need to put some skin in the game, right? Like, we do a lot of things where we pay up front, and if you don't sell your home, certain things we're just out of money on, right? Photos are a prime example. I mean, I think we spend somewhere between $5,000 and $8,000 depending on the type of house and what it needs, just to get it ready for the market. And then there's staging and all of that. So if your real estate agent isn't putting some sort of skin in the game up front, chances are they think that you're overvaluing the house and they don't think you're actually going to sell, or they're not confident in selling the house.
Yeah, or they just lack the expertise to understand what it takes to compete with all the other listings out there.
Because I could tell you, if we're teetering and you think your house is $2 million and I think it's like $195, guess what I'm going to do? I'm probably going to pay for staging or little things to try every last ditch effort to get to the number where we need to get to so we can actually sell the house, right?
Yeah.
This was a conversation in our meeting, I think, 2 days ago about, start high as an agent or start lower. I mean, what would you say to the people, or if you're thinking and the agent goes, we'll just put it on a price drop schedule. So every 2 weeks, if it doesn't sell, we'll start going down in price. We'll start high though, like you said.
Would you like me to take that?
No, I mean, I'm a firm believer of never overpricing. I mean, David sometimes has to reel me back. I'm like, hey, let's go on at 1.7. And the house is maybe worth 2.4. That's a little extreme, but that was the market for the last 3, 4, 5 years, right? I think overpricing a property is the kiss of death. We actually went to a listing appointment together, and we basically said, and you brought the stats with it, that somewhere between 5 and 10% under what you're wanting / what the home is worth is where you should list. And you also have to think about the criteria that home buyers are using for Redfin and Zillow, right? It goes every 50,000 to a point, then it goes every 100,000. So if you want 2 million, don't price at 2,005,000. Price at probably 1,998 type of thing.
To your point, Ben, there is something to be said, and I'll just kind of re-explain it for the people that weren't at our sales meeting. You never want to take an overpriced listing because it will sit on the market longer, right? And it's going to cause tension between you and the seller. So what some agents do is they say, okay, seller, I think your house is worth $3 million. You want to list at 3.5. We will try it your way. However, if we don't get an offer in a week, we're going to drop it $100,000, or we're going to drop it $100,000 every week until we get an offer, or something like that. Here's the problem with that. One, from an agent's perspective, great, because you already have built-in price reduction. So selfishly, I like that. But statistically, like Aaron said, overpricing a home is a kiss of death. Based on that scenario, I think it's worth 3. They think it's worth 3.5. By the time we do 5 to 6 weeks of price reductions, that house is now going to sell for 2.8 to 2.9. When if we would have listed it right in the begin with, I could have got them $3 million. So, hey, from an agent's perspective, sure, I secured the listing, I secured the built-in price reductions, I'm going to sell it eventually, but the seller is doing themselves a disservice by not listening to the expert and pricing it properly, because, the three of us and Mark, we sell about 100 homes a year. This might only be the second or third home or first that seller has sold in their lifetime, right? So they're basing it off of emotion or off of Zillow and Redfin algorithms, where we base everything we do off of facts and data.
And frankly, we're here to sell homes, not list homes.
Well said.
We almost never are able to not get the home sold for what it should sell for.
Agreed. I think we only had one this year that didn't sell. Moving right along. So back to predictions of 2023. This year on the podcast, or at least the first 6 months for sure, Mark was beating his chest about Austin. We talked about Salt Lake, those areas that had that rapid appreciation just like we had here in the Bay Area. Well, obviously, the quicker something goes up, the quicker it comes down. And so those same areas, including San Jose and San Francisco, are leading the markets in price reductions, lower appreciation, all that good stuff. So a lot of people are asking, okay, well then for 2023, if I want to be a real estate investor, and I think one of your predictions, maybe I'm stealing your thunder, but there's going to be more first-time real estate investors coming into the market next year than ever before. So a lot of people are asking us, okay, well, Austin's dropping hot, or San Jose is too hot or too expensive. Where are some good kind of slow and steady markets where we can invest without a lot of risk, right? Because first-time investors, maybe saved up, maybe they're a little more, I don't have the words today, guys.
Well, let me ask you real quick. When you say first-time investor, how much money would they have to invest? to be a first-time investor in these other states? Like, are we talking like our generation?
Don't make me smile.
What's the serious question? My generation thinks they have $50,000 ready to go to another state right now and invest. Is that enough money to be an investor?
Well, I don't know. If you let him finish, you might know.
Well,
coming from the guy that interrupts everything someone says.
I'm not children. I'm so glad you asked that question, Ben. Because first of all, the answer is yes. If you have $50,000, there are places on my list to invest. Now, these are places. Most forecasters are predicting that home values nationwide are going to drop anywhere from 10 to 15%. They call it from peak to trough, right? The 10 places that I'm going to give you, they're actually forecasting appreciation between 5 to 7% this coming year. And again, these aren't the sexy markets, but these are markets where appreciation didn't run up too crazy. Affordability is still within reach for most people. And all of these markets, with the exception of one, the median home price is below the national average, right? So these are people, this is places where people that work at blue collar places, Target, Walmart, restaurants, gas stations, dual income folks can afford to buy a home. So in no particular order, Hartford, Connecticut, El Paso, Texas, Louisville, Kentucky, Worcester, Massachusetts, Buffalo, New York, which I think, weren't you just there recently? Augusta, Richmond County in South Carolina, Grand Rapids, Michigan, Columbia, South Carolina, Chattanooga, Tennessee, and Toledo, Ohio. Now, I'm not going to cover all of them in detail, but to your point, Ben, Buffalo, New York, the November 2022 median home price was $240,000. So $50,000 gets you 20% down and closing costs, right? And that's the median price. So you can find something even less, get in 25% down, and probably cash flow from the start.
Do you have any numbers on what rent goes for in some of these areas?
I have lots of data, but we only have 30 minutes to kill. So if people are interested in that, we actually do have the tools. Actually, we have great technology where I can go to any neighborhood in the United States and I can get, average rents, whether it's a one-bedroom apartment, single-family home, what the predictions will be over the next 12 months, and all that good stuff. Now, we talked about this before, so I won't beat it to death, but your generation, right, maybe they only have $20,000 or $30,000, and they can't afford a home. Go use Fundrise. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I think
super good app.
Killer app. And so that's one of the things I think I'm going to start doing for my kids, because you can invest as little as $100 because they pull the money together and buy rental properties. And they're sitting on a ton of cash right now because one, they're smart, two, they know the market's dropping and they're going to be deploying that capital at a great time. So, for my kids, I'm like, well, instead of stocking stuffers, I'm going to give them each $200 or $300 in Fundrise, right? So they get their fractional ownership in an investment property as a teenager.
Yeah, no, it's a super cool app. I've been using it for the last couple of years.
Yeah, and there's 3 or 4 really good platforms out there. I think actually Jacob helped me record a little TikTok or a reel that covered some of those. They have them for residential property and commercial property. So yeah, great opportunity for fractional home ownership.
I think what's really cool about something like Fundrise is one, it's a risk versus reward, right? So you're not putting a ton of money in there usually, but it gets you excited because it's like, hey, we've acquired a new project. They bought a whole neighborhood in Phoenix, right? Like they do all sorts of different things. And two, it gives you some basic understanding before you're shelling out $20,000.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, for parents with young kids, it's a great way to get them excited about real estate investing. I did the same thing with my son when he was a kid with Stockpile, where we bought fractional shares in Tesla, Netflix, Apple. And we live in Silicon Valley. We would drive by Netflix headquarters, right around the corner, and I got to explain to him, like, you own, stock, or you own a percentage in that company.
You own that grass.
That's it. That's
probably all. But one thing that I hear or deal with often is a couple of things. If you are looking to invest in somewhere like places that you mentioned, you have to be okay with being unemotionally attached, right? You're going to have to hire a property manager, and you're not going to be able to go there per se if there's a roof leak, right? I mean, you could, I guess, but a lot of our parents are like, no, you have to be able to see it. Yeah, I want to be within driving distance. I'm not interested in managing my own rental properties. Got to be very honest.
Yep.
So find a good property manager, find a good real estate agent in those areas, or we can help you. and get some clarity on it.
We have resources deployed throughout the United States. Incredible real estate teams, incredible property management companies and vendors, and I mean worldwide as well, but specifically in the United States, where anywhere you want to invest, we have vetted real estate teams and property management companies that can assist you. And so, I talked about those 10 places. I think that's a great opportunity. If, like I said, the median price in all 9 out of 10 of those areas are below the national average. So you can get in with $50K, right? And be cash flow neutral or even positive in most of those cases.
So to stay on that point, but to shift a little bit, 3 things that I foresee happening in the next 365 is buying with friends and family is going to gain a lot of momentum. Personally, I'm super bullish on if you can find a good school district in the South Bay area. It doesn't really matter the road, but if you can get a duplex for under, let's say 1.5, even up to 2 million, give or take, go in with a friend. Find kind of a, not run down, but a good floor plan, like a 3-bed, 2-bath, or try to stay away from like 2-bed, 1-baths, I would say. Just based on our experience selling something like that, it's always a little bit harder, like a 1-bed, 1-bath. But going in with a friend or a family member, I think is going to become super popular. Also, I think the affordability crisis is going to begin to stabilize. I think rents have kind of peaked. They've gone down in the last week or so.
Hey, just like gas prices.
Yeah. And then I guess I have 4. New construction is going to strengthen, especially for rentals, people buying rentals for new construction, not having to deal with all sorts of issues. And then definitely going to see a surge in first-time landlords for 2023, like you said. People like Grant Cardone, I think, have really played a big part. And a lot of people under the age of 30 have really been saving every dollar they can and doing things like Gary Vee has taught them, right? Like going to yard sales. I have a friend that's flipping all sorts of stuff, making a killing. So you love to see it, and I'm happy that they're able to finally get in.
Yeah, I'm way bigger on Gary Vee than I am Grant Cardone.
Yeah, I mean, what Grant Cardone has done is pretty amazing. It's a little sleazy and kind of it's tired, but I mean, the guy has built a $4 billion business just by buying rental properties.
Well, getting other people's money to buy rental properties.
But he takes 50%. But I think something like Fundraise is a hell of a lot better than...
Yeah, I think it's great.
Because you can pull out at any time. You don't have to be an accredited investor. If you want to scale back that month, you can. If you want to put more money in, you can. So Fundraise, I'm for it.
Yep.
This is actually a good leadway to my Mustache Market Minute. So, Mustache Market Minute. If you are thinking about going in, whether it's with a family member, friend, or by yourself to become a first-time homeowner, now is the time to start planning. And I had this conversation with my lender the other day. If you haven't already, I would now... Who's your lender? A lender is Brian Russell. Shout out, Brian.
Okay, go ahead, continue.
All right. If you're thinking about buying, now is the time you would want to start establishing that team. Talk to a real estate agent. Establish a relationship with a lender. Reach out to your CPA. Talk to your financial advisor. Leading up until the beginning of next year, which I think is going to be a really strong time to buy for first-time home buyers. You're definitely going to start, understanding the market, studying the patterns of these different areas and neighborhoods. Running your credit, understanding what you need to do to build that credit, whether, like you said, saving financially, having a budget of what you're looking for. These are all things that I think to reach that goal, these are going to need to be done as soon as possible.
I want to talk about Santa Clara County homeowners and property taxes. If you are a homeowner in Santa Clara County and you are past due on your property taxes and you don't know what to do, how to get caught up, what your options are, definitely reach out, because here's the problem. Over the past 5 years, interest rates were low. If you were past due on your property taxes, you could just do a cash out refinance to pay them off. Well, we know now that interest rates have doubled in the last year. So a homeowner that is $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 or more past due on their property taxes, what they don't know is that usually after missing 2 installments, your mortgage company is going to pay those property taxes for you. And then guess what? They're going to stick it on top of your mortgage. And because interest rates have doubled, you don't have that opportunity to refinance without taking a substantial monthly payment hit. So for most homeowners, the options are possibly sell or some sort of bank negotiation, but there are also programs in California that will actually pay some of those past due property taxes for you and help you get out from under that hole. So if you are a homeowner in Santa Clara County and you are past due on your property taxes, DM, click the link, give us a call, and we're happy to go over your options with you.
So it's kind of a personal question, and I guess you could say it is sensitive, but I'll just be completely honest, and if we have to cut this, we can.
Okay.
The thing that drives Silicon Valley prices up the most is the lack of land, I would say, right, for a single-family home. Fair to say?
Yeah.
Have you ever driven by a church and realized, like, oh, wow, that's a prime piece of land?
I read that article today.
Oh, wow, that's a huge, really unused parking lot, unless it's like a massive holiday.
Yep.
Well, most of the time, I think almost all the time, churches don't pay taxes, right? Property tax? Is that what it is, Dave?
Yeah, they are exempt from.
They are exempt, which
income tax.
whether you think that's right or wrong, I think it's a little like, the boundaries could be pushed, aka the Kardashians have a church, okay? You could look into that later. But I'm kind of like, oh. So now there's a proposal out, and I can't find the exact article. I got a few too many. But basically, these churches that own the land, that don't pay property tax, want to start building homes on the extra land that they have.
Okay.
How do you feel about that? Do you like that idea? Do you think it's like a little much?
Well. So let me use this analogy. I mean, essentially, they're building compounds, right? Like David Koresh did in Waco, Texas, right? He has his church, and then he has all his houses. Here's my thought process. I think that if they are done to code with permits and planning, I think that they're going to have to pay some tax because they are tapping into our public utilities, right? Sewer system, increased traffic, that sort of thing. But I've got no problem with that. I mean, I think, in fact, right by my house on the corner is a small church on a huge lot. And I drive past it every day and I think, man, you could throw another dozen homes right there.
I'd rather see them do that than jam all these ADUs on a 7,000 square foot piece of property, right?
Yeah. So I'm
You're for it.
I'm all right with it.
Someone's going to make money regardless, so might as well let the churches make some money, right?
Yeah, and we need more houses. We don't have any more land in our valley, right? It's not like we live in the Midwest where it's just flat and long, as clear as the eye can see, and you can just keep building. We don't have that luxury here, which is one of the things that makes it a great valley to live in. But yeah, I mean, housing's an issue, and affordability is an issue. So if there's ways that we can offset that, even if it's a small amount, I'm for it.
Ben?
I really don't have a say. I like you said, someone's going to make money off of it. It might as well be the church building homes. Obviously, I feel like, who's going to want to live? This is a stupid question. Everyone needs somewhere to live. But, who really wants to live on a church, next to a church?
Dude, if you think about how...
What happens during the holidays?
Right, but if you think about how big some of these pieces of land are, you could build a whole subdivision and not even know the church is there.
Yeah.
Except for Sundays when all the cars are out there.
But that's like the one day a week. I would take a badass new house to have to deal with some Sunday traffic. You still have your driveway.
I guess it depends on how they set the houses up. Is it going to be...
It'll still have to go through approval.
Yeah, remember the piece of land that you sold next to Mount Pleasant where they had approved for 10 townhomes on it? Would it be something like that where they have townhomes lined up?
Case by case, right?
Yeah. I think it depends on the layout of the lot.
I don't know. I think something needs to be done.
Like righteous gemstones. They all have their homes.
I don't hate the idea. But speaking of adding, I know that we're going a little long, but speaking of adding housing, 3 huge downtown San Jose projects have gone to the advanced city approval, and they've gotten city approval. Icon Echo project, will be 389 residences, 26-story building, 525,000 square feet of retail space. The Orchard residential property, 540 housing units, and then the Susico mixed use will have 150 housing.
But let's be clear.
Units.
let's be clear. When you mention housing, are you talking about high density housing or these
This is
single family homes?
condos in downtown San Jose.
Gotcha. So just more high density housing, right?
I would like to believe that in the next 10 to 15 years, downtown San Jose is going to be unrecognizable, and it's going to be amazing.
So as a San Jose native, I remember being 21 years old and hanging out in downtown San Jose, and I thought, man, in 10 years, man, it's going to be all different down here. And then guess what? I was 31 and went downtown San Jose, and I thought, man, someday, maybe another 10 years or so, it'd be nice.
I heard the same thing about downtown Campbell.
It just needs to be cleaned up.
Now.
And then now, at 41 years old, man, is it ever going to fucking change? Now, it's 47 years old. I agree. We don't have a cool downtown. We never have. And I don't know if we ever will. Even with, maybe in 10, 15 years.
They don't put in like cool bars and restaurants,
Maybe when Google moves in.
Yeah.
I thought once they added all the high density housing that there would be more residents, full-time residents there. So it would force downtown to like clean up, be cool. But it's never happened. I think downtown Campbell's better than downtown San Jose.
But then all these sub-cities or towns, they limit what can go in there so hard. But you go to somewhere like downtown San Diego and it's like, wow, everything has a theme and it's super fun and spunky.
Yeah.
I just don't understand the missing ingredient to downtown San Jose.
I think one of the problems is we have our own little sub-downtowns around, right? We've got Willow Glen, we've got Campbell, we've got Los Gatos. So people don't need to go downtown San Jose
Generally
to get their fix.
speaking, they're all kind of lame. Compared to like San Diego,
Yeah,
San Francisco.
but compared to downtown San Jose, you'd rather go to those places all day long,
Yeah.
right? So they're always going to be competing with each other. None of your significant others or friends ever call you up and say, hey, let's go to downtown San Jose, right?
It's probably more frequent for me than it is for you.
San Pedro Square, I like, and San Jose Mini Boss. Shout out to them. If you've never been there, it's like retro video games and stuff, and they theme it. And there are some good restaurants downtown, but like you said, it's not sexy. It's not San Diego. It's not Austin. It's not Nashville.
But speaking of also Google coming, my last thing that I have
Quickly.
is that BART is also coming eventually to San Jose.
Mm-hmm.
And shouldn't laugh, but I saw what San Jose is doing, and there's a process called eminent domain. Which
You know what that is, Ben?
I feel like I do, but I'm not going to give the answer because if I get it wrong, then
we're gonna be
I just get shit on.
Go ahead and try.
Eminent domain means where the city owns a certain part of land that they use or can be used by them, even if it's owned by someone else.
Yeah, pretty close.
Did I chop that up?
No, you pretty much had it. But
No.
basically you own the land, but the city says, actually I want that. And they take it, they give you fair market value.
Okay, they buy it from them. Okay.
It's where the government comes in and takes over your land.
And you don't have a choice. But it's kind of rude, but they're doing that in downtown San Jose to clear land for the BART. But they did it for Shoreline. They did it for the freeways.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're doing it in, I know it's a little off topic, but I think in the country of India, like through Dubai, the government is buying the land and putting up a wall city, like a city in a wall. I'll bring that to the next podcast.
It's called Line City.
Yes.
It's a straight line.
Straight line.
Yeah. We'll ask Jeet about it.
The next podcast will be back.
And actually, as we wrap this up, so is this going to be our last podcast of the year? No. Okay, we've got one more podcast before we wrap it up for the end of the year.
Teeth.
Yeah, so Aaron will have teeth. We will hopefully have a winner of last week's podcast, Guess Our Weight, which I'm going to give the answer right now. Hopefully somebody's already guessed this without going over. I do a drum roll, but Jacob hates when we do that on the table.
If you guess when this is posted, it does not count.
That's right. Did you not listen? I just said
Jacob doesn't like that. Tell him sorry.
Anyway, I was on a roll. But anyway, without any further ado, our fat asses combined weigh 843 pounds.
Oh my God! No wonder my golf cart got stuck.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to do this once a year to see if our weight trends up or down year after year. Hopefully, we'll still be doing podcasts next year. And I will be. I don't know if it's the same, if I have the same team, but I'll be doing podcasts next year.
Dang.
But yeah, so look out for our last podcast of the year. It's going to be special. We might have a special guest. We might have a play-at-home drinking game.
Let's bring all of our wives and girlfriends.
I'm up for that too. So, hey, we should do a whole, was it like WAGs or like Wives of Real Estate Agents podcast? Oh, they talk so much shit. It'd be great. But anyway, look out for the last podcast of the year. And Mark will be back for that. And guys, it's been a lot of fun.
Cool. On that note, thanks for watching our podcast.
Help us change the name. Because January, we're rolling out a new name for our podcast.
New name, new intro.
And hopefully a few pounds less.
And better topics.
And better topics.
We'll see ya.
Later.